Welcome back everyone to the Berserk Monster Manual, giving you the breakdown on all the brutal, cute, and disgusting creatures in the manga series Berserk. And today's choice definitely defines all those adjectives. Picking a specific apostle today, we are going to be talking about the false elf herself, Rosine. Spoilers, obviously, and if you haven't watched my Apostle Monster Manual video, check that out first because it'll give you all you need to know about what an apostle is before we delve deeper into one apostle character in particular with Rosine. Rosine is first shown in chapter 51 of the manga during the Golden Age arc. As the Band of the Hawk is separated, leaving most of the wounded behind at a campsite, Rickert leaves to fetch some water and sees a mysterious figure in the distance. One he can only assume is an elf due to its appearance, only to soon after hear the dying cries of his fellow Hawk members. Upon returning to the scene, he sees the dismembered and half-eaten bodies of everyone, and along with the slug count, he sees Rosine, a human-elf hybrid-looking creature who grins with the intention of killing Rickert as well. Thankfully, he lives to see another day due to the intervention of the Skull Knight, but after that, Rosine would not be seen again until the beginning of the Conviction arc, and it's here that we learn about her as a character and a major antagonist. As with all apostles, Rosine was once human, though this is the first time in the manga we see an apostle who was a child at the time of their ascension. Rosine grew up in a small village that once upon a time had a great conflict from invaders who, in typical bandit fashion, would kill the men and rape the women, Rosine's mom being one of those victims, which causes a lot of fighting between Rosine's parents as her father wasn't convinced that he was the real father. Not to make light out of horrible situations, but it's not like they could just go on an episode of Maury to find out.
Isaac, you are not.
So Rosine hated being around her parents' conflict and would oftentimes spend entire days outside in the woods and playing with her friend Jill, who was just a few years younger. She would play in the dirt, catch bugs and snakes, and acted like you would consider a tomboy type. She also had an affection for the fable, which is known as the story of Peacock, and this is very important to understand Rosine as a character. See, in Berserk's story at this time, the idea of astral creatures like elves was still very much considered myths, something people would tell stories about, but very few have actually seen with their own eyes. In fact, it's stated in the story that children are much more likely to see these creatures as their minds are more open to the supernatural. Anyway, the Peacock story is about a boy with pointed ears and red eyes whom everyone picked on due to his appearance. He was an outcast and felt like he didn't belong. After running away into the forest, Peacock discovered an area where elves resided and figured he must be one of them. But actually, the elves mentioned that Peacock was brought here as a baby boy by his parents, and that the elves used magic to save his life. But as a result, his appearance changed to give him the red eyes and pointed ears. As Peacock ran to return home, when he got there, he saw that 100 years had passed, and everyone he knew, including his parents, were long gone. Rosine loved this story, but she altered the ending. She believed Peacock really was an elf, and that he stayed with the other elves happily ever after. One day, while in the woods, Rosine came across a baylet. She held onto it, and she ran away one night looking for the elves and the Misty Valley. She stayed there for days but saw no elves. Nothing until her parents finally found her. But instead of being happy, her father lashed out and struck her for humiliating him and because of his own insecurities. He struck Rosine's mother next, and this despair Rosine felt of the harsh reality of the world and wanting her fairy tale to be true, she activated the baylet, and she had an audience with the God Hand. And, with the decision of sacrificing her parents for greater power, she got to become the twisted demonic version of what she always wanted, an elf. But ironically, just like the Peacock story, she wasn't really an elf. Rosine has several appearances and forms. Most notably is that she doesn't seem to have a human form as most apostles do before revealing their true selves. This could simply be because Rosine wanted to be an elf and had no interest in continuing to live as a human form. Her base form seems to be just an elf-looking form, complete with wings, bug eyes, and moth-like features. She then can turn her face into a more humanoid look, bringing her eyes and other facial features back to something more recognizable. And her final form is turning herself into her gigantic full apostle form, which is like a giant bug, complete with a huge wingspan and a stinger. Her humanish looking self at this point is just a face and a torso which is embedded within the body of the full giant apostle form. Rosine has an assortment of powers and abilities. She has the typical enhanced strength, speed, and stamina that any apostle does, but she also has poison dust that causes fatigue, disorientation, and even vomiting. She also has the ability of flight in every form that she has, as she has wings, but in her full apostle form she can fly at supersonic speeds, creating sonic booms and breaking the sound barrier. Also, her stinger, which she can use like a lance and combine with her supersonic speed to give a quick killing blow to almost anyone. Her main ability she utilizes is the ability to create pseudo-apostles. This is when an apostle corrupts a human and transforms them into a servant of sorts. She has two variations of this. For adults, she transforms them into bug-like creatures in which she uses for guardians of her Misty Valley so that nobody can enter. And for children, well, Rosine is known to kidnap children from the village, and she turns them into small elf-like creatures that she plays with, but also uses to wreak havoc, killing livestock and adults, which they can devour within seconds if a swarm attacks. The children are taken and put into cocoons, which transform them into the pseudos. Rosine is creating her own elf valley, but she has little regard for them as individuals, and treats them more like a swarm of bugs than she is the queen. If these children are killed, she just simply makes more. They're completely expendable, and their infantile mindset causes them to relish killing even in one another as they play games that result in the death of one another, as well as playing adult attack, which is just, well, you get the picture. In any case, as Rosine is presented in the manga, she's one of the most powerful apostles Guts has to face, but she is also given enough development and character that it's hard not to feel at least a little bit bad for her. She's a misguided child living in a world of fantasy, refusing to grow up like a twisted version of Peter Pan. She just wanted to think that she was something special, and in her most hurt and vulnerable state, decided to sacrifice her parents in order to live out this fantasy, but then proceeded to be a demonic menace on her hometown, abducting children and killing people. If you were to fight Rosine as an average human, you would be in for quite a challenge. Assuming she's surrounded by her swarm of pseudo-apostles, as she usually is, you'd have to find a way to get rid of them before they tore all the skin off your body and bones. They can be killed conventionally by being splatted like bugs. They're not physically strong at all. It's just the sheer amount of them at any one time. They can also be burned, which is probably the quickest solution. Just ignore the fact that after dying, they turn back into dead children bodies. Fighting Rosine herself, she has the standard apostle durability, but can be killed by normal human weapons if you strike hard enough in the right spots. She has the ability of flight, so you would need to get the job done quick, aim for the neck or heart. But if she transforms into her full apostle form, she can literally fly so fast it breaks the sound barrier, so you'll be blown in all kinds of directions, lose your orientation, and oh yeah, there's that giant-ass stinger. Now, Guts was stabbed in the face with a stinger and kept on going, but Guts at this point in the manga was fighting on pure, unabashed hatred and rage, and was still almost killed. He literally destroyed his body, allowed himself to be stabbed multiple times, and had to bust out his arm cannon in order to stand a chance against Rosine. But Guts also had no supernatural help at this point, so theoretically, a human could kill her, but this is Guts at his absolute deadliest, which far exceeds that of the average man. I'm sure magic could also work on her, but again, good luck finding the time to enact a spell before she stabs you. All in all, Rosine is one of the most compelling antagonists and apostles in the manga, and I know the fan base is very split on her. Some feeling sympathy for her, and others believing she deserved nothing but death. Let me know what you guys think of Rosine down below. Thanks again, as always, for watching this video and enjoying another page of the Monster Manual series. I'll just end this with the normal YouTube spiel of please give this video a like, subscribe if you want to stick around. Also, check out the description of this video because I did launch a Patreon account, so go see if any of those options on the Patreon would be something you would be interested in because I would very much appreciate it. Thanks once again for watching, guys, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.